Started. Here's the agenda for today. I'm going to uh, give a couple of bullet points, and then I'm going to talk very quick overview of last week because this is part two. If you're coming on to this one, I'm going to do a quick bullet point list of what we talked about last week. So don't worry if you're on this week and weren't in, last week. That's fine. And then I'm going to show you what's called the economic model. So we're actually going to start setting your goal today. And you're going to get a tool for that. And then you're going to get to play with what that means number wise. And we've got a calculator and some other stuff. And I'm going to go over the rest of the tools with you. So I'm going to get into it. Now, here's why we're doing this now. It's October 15th. Here's why this is important to do the business planning now. So number one, this is Gary Keller, right, CEO of Keller Williams. He says that it takes, and they actually studied this, 90 days for a conversation to turn into a closing. So 90 days from when you have that first conversation for it to go into a closing. So if we look at 90 days from today, what's 90 days from today? So it's January 15th. So guess what? Happy New Year, guys. We're already in January 15th. Yay, Happy New Year. So that's why I want to do this now is to put that on the radar because that's really good for us to think about. Now, the other thing I want you to think about is that it takes 45 days to close for a lot of people. So once you get something pending, it's going to take 45 days. And so 45 days from today, in general, is I think December 1st. Okay. So yeah, we're looking at December 1st right now. So really, for the most part, 2024, unless you squeeze in a cash deal, is kind of done in a sense with your pendings. And you are planning for 2025 right now. Stuff you're getting pending, a lot of it's going to go in 2025. And this is another reason it's so important, right? I've been a coach for 7 years. What happens when someone has a slow January? What kind of story do you put in your head? How do you feel when you start off with the year? Like, it's low energy. You don't have as much confidence, right? You don't feel as good. And then it can kind of build upon itself because you've slowed down over the holidays. And if 90 days later is a reflection of the conversations you're having, the business you're having, you may have a slow February. And now you're starting off the year and you're chasing your goal the whole year, and it's depressing. It's not fun. And I don't want that for you. And that's why I'm doing this today and giving you stuff, because I want to help protect you from that and make sure that you have a really strong January. Because when you have a strong January, then what happens? You're feeling good, right? You have a strong January, and then it compounds on itself. And so this is why it's really helpful to do this now, because we haven't gotten to the main holiday season where you're going to want to rest, and I recommend it. This is the time to actually pad 2025. So if you didn't hit what you wanted to hit in 2024, whatever, clean slate, let's go. Let's get these patterns in place now. The other thing, this is an ever-changing market right now. Everyone is experiencing like slowdown. I mean, I coach big producers, right? 500,000, million in GCI. They're experiencing a little bit of slowdown too, which means we all are, which means people are quitting, right? Am I cut out for this? Some of you might have thought this too. Am I cut out for this? Should I keep doing this? What's wrong with me? Why am I not hitting my numbers? Everyone's feeling that. And so what's happening on top of the market being, lower is that the market share is being freed up every single day. Agents are quitting every day. Every day. So even though the market might be slowing down a little bit, your competition is out or slowing down. So this is going to balance out. And that's why it's really important to stay focused on this and to know that you can do it, because you got to ride out this weird wave of whatever this is, because it's ever changing. And next year could be a very different market. So hold on. Other thing I want to do before I get into the bullet points of just kind of summarizing last week, your numbers, and whether you hit them or not, does not reflect your worth as a person. I want to throw this out there. So write it down or remember it or whatever you want to do. But just know that your numbers, whether you hit goal or not, does not reflect your worth. It reflects your plan. That's it. So when we're goal setting, what I've noticed being a coach is a lot of people are afraid to hit goals because if they don't hit it, means they're a failure, right? But they're actually making this judgment about themselves as a human being, and it's debilitating. No, if you don't hit goal, it just means it's your plan. You're not bad. You just might have needed a different plan or a different approach. And so when we're hitting goal, and if you set a goal and you don't hit it completely, again, same thing. You just learn from it and you keep going. And it's just not a reflection of you, right? These are numbers. There's so much more to us and to who we are as human beings than whether we can hit a goal or not, And it's just don't quit. Just figure out what you could have done differently and shift your plan. Whether you need more accountability, whether you need a different approach, whether you chose lead generation activities because you thought you were supposed to, it's the only way, but actually you didn't really like them and they're not really fun. So that's just your plan wasn't aligned with who you are and how you operate. So we're just learning from it. Okay, so here's just a quick recap of what we talked about before we get into this goal setting. Top 5 tips for a successful business plan with ADHD. 1, keep it simple. When it's too complicated, we can get overwhelmed, shut down. We don't keep up with it. Then we feel like we're failing. We get into all or nothing thinking, and then we just get down in a hole and we don't even want to look at our numbers and we hide from it. So keep it simple, as simple as you need. It could be 1 page. You could be just tracking a couple things and that's it. Keep it simple. Or, again, if you like a lot of complex things and you nerd out on the numbers, go for it. It's what is best for you. Number 2, fill out with things that excite you, that you like to do. Do it your way instead of the way you think you're supposed to. So in what I'll say, right, because I've studied the model. I've ran a huge team before I became a coach 7 years ago. I mean, we were over 300 closings a year. The model is good to look at. It's good to practice. I do think that people without ADHD who aren't neurodivergent need the model a little bit more than us. And here's why. We score way higher on the creativity. We have really good pattern recognition. There are people without ADHD that are less creative. There are very creative people without ADHD, but as a whole, they're less creative, not bad. And they want things the same. They want a plan. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And they can time block it in for 15 minutes every day and be consistent, but they have more trouble coming up with these different ideas that we might come up with. And they don't do as well under pressure, right? And they don't have as high of conversion rates. We, on average, have double the conversion rates of someone without ADHD. So if you are running a plan that doesn't work for you, you have permission to deviate, right? As long as you hit the goal, it doesn't matter how you get there. So make sure it's alignment with your brain. It's so important. And it's okay. Even Gary said, models are not mandatory. So as long as you hit the goal, who cares how you do it? Number 3, go for good enough. So as we're doing this, as we're filling out this template and you're choosing your goal for the year, I want you to remember, you don't have to choose. This is not your goal for the rest of the year. This isn't set in stone. Throw a number in there. We're going to kind of play with it. I'm going to show you that. And let it evolve. Just sit with it. So don't worry about it being perfect because that can be paralyzing. I don't know if anybody else gets paralyzed by going for perfection, right? So don't worry about it being perfect. You can always change it later. It's a template. It's got formulas in there. That's the point. Number 4, understand having anxiety around numbers, financials, budgets. Very normal. Everyone has that. I've coached non-ADHD and ADHD agents. We all get anxiety around numbers and financials and stuff. So don't shame yourself if you don't know what your numbers are, if you didn't track it last time, just don't judge yourself. And we can just choose differently, right? So we want to find a way for you to do this and keep up with it that doesn't cause anxiety, that is helpful, that is simple. And then number 5, lean into what drives you, right? If you like a challenge, lean into that. If you're competitive, if you love giving back, we want to tie your business to that. If there's a passion that this special interest you could talk about all day, like mountain biking or dance or, video games or, healthy eating or whatever that is, you can always tie your business. It does not have to look like what everybody else's looks like. And then we have hyper focus and incredible passion and energy. So once we get our plan, we get the right plan and we get in alignment with how we are wired and what we love to do, watch out. Nobody can touch what you do. They literally can't. Once you get in that lane, nobody can touch what you do. And that's the goal. So stop playing the neurotypical game and doing it the neurotypical way. Do it your way in alignment with your brain. And I'm telling you, no one can touch you. And just to prove that point, did a small sample survey last year of the top 100 agents within KW. And anybody can take this, right? This is a brokerage neutral call. This is just the sample survey I had. So over half of the top 100 agents in the world for Keller Williams had ADHD. Okay. when we look at the average population, it's 3 to 10% of the average population has ADHD. When we're looking at the top 100 agents in the world for Keller Williams, we're looking at over 50%. You see the pattern there? And you have that brain, or you're an ally who's on learning. And so you have that same way. Your brain works the exact same way. And the people that I see don't hit as high numbers, it's because they're playing the neurotypical game and they're trying to do it the right way instead of really listening to what works for them. And the rule breakers and the people who, deviate sometimes do really well because they can just follow their brain. Okay, so I'm going to give the template here in a second. The reason that you choose your goal can be a lot of factors. It could be based on the profit you want to make. It could be based on what you did this year and you want to do double or you want to do the same. It could be a challenge that shows you you're growing. It could be that you want to get a certain ranking in your office or you're competitive. Or it could be what we're going to look at today. It just feels within reason of what you want to do and what you want your week and your months to look like. So there's not a set way. You don't have to have some huge big why that makes you tear up when you think about it. You can, and it's helpful, but you don't have to have that to set a goal. It could be that your big why is literally just to do a good job every day and be really present and help your clients. That's great too, or you could have a big why. So again, I think you're getting the theme here that there's not a set way you have to do stuff or you're not going to be successful. That's a red flag, actually. Like when you hear someone say, oh, you have to do this way, you've got to do lead gen this way, or you're not going to be successful. That's, somebody's in all or nothing thinking. That's not true at all. We see that all the time. Okay, so I'm going to do a screen share here. So what you're going to do is you're going to, it's in the chat, and we'll get this for you later if you can't do it now. You're just going to go to File. This is a template. You're not going to edit this. You're going to go to File, make a copy, and then you can rename it whatever you want. Tyler's Plan 2025, and then you just hit that make a copy. And then what it's going to do, then it's going to give you, this is your own template, right? So you can edit this. I won't see it. Nobody else will have it. This is your private template. No one has access to it. So that's what you're going to do. So you just go to File, make a copy, and then just rename it. And that's yours. And you can edit it. If something breaks on it or whatever, you can just email us and we'll fix it. Okay. So how this is going to work, you don't have to do math in here. So this is actually part of the first part of our ADHD friendly business planning clinic that starts on this Thursday. So as you'll see, there's a little key here. So in the green, you get to edit, and in the gray, it's a formula. So don't touch that. And if you break it, it's very easy for us to fix this. So don't worry about messing this up or whatever. Like, we can go back and we can fix it very easily, no matter, even if you delete the whole thing. It's not hard. So don't worry about messing this up. But you do not need to touch the gray. So what the green is, I have averages in here. And the green you can fill in with your numbers, and I'm going to go through each one by one. And what it's going to do, it's going to calculate your total gross commission for you. That's what this is. It's going to tell you what your total volume is. It's going to tell you how many listing appointments you need to go on, how many listings you need to take, and it's going to tell you your average commission check, all of this stuff. Okay, so this is like the number one thing you want to do when you're setting a goal. Because what a lot of agents don't do, and I'll go through this in a second, is they choose a goal based on emotion or what they think they should do or that kind of stuff. But we're not actually looking at what that means on a weekly or a monthly basis. And then when they start doing it, they don't know what the numbers are, but they might be writing it down. I've had people write it on the mirror before, but then you just start spinning and then you feel bad because you failed. But how do you know what to even hit, right? And this is part of your plan that you're going to want. So this unit goal right here, this controls everything. And so what you can do, and this is what I meant by not having to be perfect, you just put in whatever number this is. And again, you can play with this. So if you want to do 25 sales, if you want to do 200 sales, I mean, you could do this, and you can see everything changes. So it's all based on this, and everything's going to change based on what this number is, based on that unit goal. So that's the first one. And then what we have here, the left side here is the seller side. The right side here is the buyer side. And so the next thing you're going to do is you're going to put the ratio of sellers that out of your 20 sales, let's say, what percentage are going to be sellers? And then over here, what percentage are going to be buyers? So we want this to equal 50%. So what I would suggest on this ratio, we have had some weird stuff with NAR. There's some commission stuff on the buyer side. If you can be a little bit more listing heavy, even if you haven't before, again, it's just a plan that you need. If you can be a little bit more listing heavy, it's a little bit of a protection plan with that stuff going on with NAR, because it's not going to affect you in the same way, right? Because you're not going to be having to try to get, I mean, sellers in general, you're not having to have these same harder conversations on the buyer side. So if it were me, even if I had not done listings before, I would go really hard on the listings and get my process in place, or just figure out how to do it and really work at it. So then if something happens with the buyers, or if it gets a little bit harder or whatever, just as a precaution, you're not going to be affected as much. So if it were me, I might put 60-40. Let's say I had not really done listings, or you might do 70-30. But I would ideally put, 60%. Now, if you just love buyers, go for it, Other thing, let's say you're an agent on a team, or here's the thing, if you have team members, you can make a copy of this template for them. And let's say you have buyer's agents, okay? So this is just if you're a buyer's agent. So close your ears if you're not a buyer's agent or buyer specialist. If you're a buyer specialist or a listing specialist, you're going to put 0 on the side that you don't do, and you're going to put 100%. So this is just for the buyer specialists. If you only work with buyers, right? So now you're going to have your numbers here. It's not going to mess anything up. You don't have to worry about this side. So that's just if you're a specialist. So majority of us are going to be doing both. But if you have team members, you can share this template, okay? So now we've got our ratio. I'm going to go for 60% of my 20 sales are going to be sellers. 40% will be buyers. And then now we're looking at conversion rates. So that's what this green is. So these are the averages. And so what we're looking at is, of the listing appointments you go on, what percentage, and you can guess, you don't have to know your numbers, are going to sign an agreement. So if you went on 10 listing appointments, what percentage are going to sign? So the average agent, I think probably is, it fluctuates, but maybe 65%, maybe 40, it depends. So again, guess right now. Don't worry if you don't know your numbers. Don't feel bad. Just choose something that makes sense to you, and just put a number in for now just to do the exercise, or do this later. If you're just listening, you don't have to fill it out, okay? So then we're looking at, of the listings that you sign, what percentage close? This is our listing signed to listing sold. So we have in here 75%. So if you take a listing, you sign it, what percentage is going to sell? So that's on this side. Any questions on that part? And just feel free to type it in the chat. Okay. So then when we keep doing on the listing side, and when we do the buyer side, it's going to be really easy because you're already going to know how to do it. So the other thing we're doing on the listing side is, what is your average sale price? So if you don't know this, don't worry. You could probably literally Google it, right? You could just say average, I'll do it for Asheville. Average sale price, Asheville, and well, it's probably gone down with the hurricane. That's a dark humor joke, but okay. So let's look at this, right? So if you don't know your average sale, look, we've got 500,000. So just Google it. Again, any plan is better than no plan. So that's what we're looking at. Okay, so we're going to put in 500,000, and then we're looking at our average commission split. So what this means is, are you typically getting 3% of the sale? Are you getting 2.75% of the sale? This is your split that goes to your brokerage before any splits to you, anything like that. This is just what percentage is coming to your side before anything else. So it could be 3%, it could be 2%. I have them buyer and seller. You can do them differently. You may do them exactly the same, so it just depends. So that is the seller side. So what's the average? And then you'll see that it calculates for me. Okay, my average commission check is going to be 15,000, and then on the seller side, it's going to be 180,000 in gross commission. So we've got the seller side. That's what that is. Now we're going to start to just shift over. So we're actually going to come in here before we go to the buyer side, and how many working weeks? So out of 52, I would say, if you don't know, put 46, because that's going to give you time for holidays. If you get sick, if you just need a vacation, that's a safe number. So you can just put how many weeks. because this is actually going to help you calculate how many you need per week on your working weeks. So you don't need to hit this stuff that I'm going to show you if you're on vacation, because we've already calculated it in. So instead of like, oh man, I went on vacation, I'm behind, I'm supposed to get, one listing every week. No, it's already accounted for. So if you're going to take a lot of vacations, you may do even lower number. But in general, I'd say about 46 is good. And then we're going to come to the buyer side. So of the buyer appointments you go on, same thing as the other side, of the buyer appointments you go on, what percentage end up signing an agreement with? Or let's say, Tyler, we don't get buyer agreement signed, which we'd want you to a lot more now with the NAR stuff. But let's just say that. So here's what I would say: if you do not get them signed, and that's just a reality, put the ones that 100% in your gut that are committed to you, ideally verbally committed to you, right? Maybe they haven't signed something, but they're saying, yes, we're only going to work with you. These are the people that are committed to you. So ideally it's signed. If not, it's verbal. And if it's not that, use your best judgment. So this is of the appointments you go on, who commits to you, who becomes your client. So we have about 85% here. Some agents get 100%. Some people get 50%. Once you start getting them signed, you're going to be more towards 100%. It's kind of like once you get it, you get it. We could do a call on getting those, but that's what that number is. And then we're looking at, of the buyers that sign, what percentage end up as a closing? What percentage end up as a closing? So that's what that is. So we got 75% here. And these are about averages. So you could leave them what they are if you don't know, or you could adjust them. But you can change this anytime. Okay. So then we're going to here, we're looking at the average sale price. So if you're not a nerd with numbers, which not a lot of people aren't, you could really just copy, right? You could do 500,000 over here too. These don't have to be different. It's just, if you know your numbers and you want something different, you can. Same thing with the commission. You might get a little bit lower on the buyer side, so let's just say you get 2%, whatever that looks like. So this is going to help you, because when a lot of times we're setting goals, if we can't do this, it can get really confusing, because it's like, well, this side I get 3%, I get 2%. So should I average them out? But I'm going to get more buyers instead, blah, blah. That's what this solves. So it's actually doing it for you where you can get a really accurate number. So that is the economic model. So we filled that out. And this is in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. That's where this comes from. So now I'm going to talk to you about how to read this. Okay. So these are our numbers. We filled it out. So we can see now total gross commission. So based on this, we're going to close about 260,000 in gross commission. That's going to be our GCI right there. So it's going to tell you how to do it. And then we're looking at our total volume. So so this person at 20 units, they're going to have 10 million in volume. And then we're going to look over here, and these are the totals. So this is the annual total. So this means you would go on 20, and we always want to round up. You're going to go on 25 listing appointments for the year, and I have it weekly. So this is 0.5 weekly. So when it says something like that, what that's going to be is you're going to get like one every other week, right? So if you have to get half a week, then you're going to get one every 2 weeks, if that makes sense. So that's what that is every week you're going to need to get half. So you're going to need to get a listing appointment every other week. And then listing signed, we're getting 16 for the year, or 0.3. So really you're going to get a listing signed, once a month. Some months you're going to get 2. You can look at both of these to kind of determine. So this person needs to get 16 listings signed for the whole year. So we have 12 months in the year. So they're going to get 1 signed a month at least. And then they're going to have about 4 months where they're going to get 2 in a month. And you may want to stack that early. Again, it's kind of fun to get ahead and know these numbers. And then just kind of really pad up the beginning if you can, because the rest of your year, instead of chasing a goal because you had a slow January and you're beating yourself up, you feel ahead. You're on the offense the whole time instead of the defense, and your whole year is just different. And then listing sold, right? So you're going to close 1 listing once a month, because we got the annual total here. So you may look at the annual, you may have to look at the weekly for it to make sense. And then when we look at the buyer side, you're going to go on 12.5 buyer appointments, which is going to be basically 1 a month, right? Because that's 12 for the year. We have 12 months in the year. So you're going to go on 1 buyer appointment a month. And then you're going to sign roughly about one buyer signed a month. So it's the other thing with this, it can make numbers look very doable that didn't before. So when we're looking at keeping this simple, you could literally just take this and this is your plan. That's it. You don't have to make it more complicated. You don't have to do all kinds of extensive. You can, but if you've never done a plan before and you get overwhelmed, and you just take this and just focus on and make sure, like, you may just have a piece of paper, and if it's like this, you just need to get one buyer signed per month, and you need to get two buyers signed per month, or two sellers signed, and that's it. And that's all you have to track. And however you do it, however many contacts, it doesn't matter, but you got to hit these numbers, and then buyer sold, you're going to have a buyer closing, not every month, a lot of months. And that's what that'll look like. Now, let's say you do this and you say, whoa, that doesn't seem like much at all, like that's nothing. I can totally do that. This is the benefit of doing it ahead of time, because you can come in here and you can change this, because you feel it, and it's actually, everything's going to adapt. So this goal is going to change everything. So now you can say, okay, right, okay, I can do that. That's more of a stretch. Or you might say, oh my gosh, I can do way more than that, and then you can say, okay, I need, 2 buyer appointments a month and 1 listing appointment a week, so you're getting, you're going on 1 listing appointment a week, and then you're going on a buyer appointment every other week. And that's it. And that's your one thing. And you don't worry about anything else. You don't track anything else. You don't read 100 books. You don't beat yourself up. You keep it super simple. And that's just your one thing. I mean, you will be successful, because a lot of people I see is they're like just consuming so much information and they get overwhelmed. And then you get distracted by the thing that matters. So let's say you do this, you fill out 20, right? And then it's way more than you've done before. And you think, oh my gosh, like 2 listing appointments in a month. I've never done that before. I just started, or, whatever. I've only been getting so much. That's just way too much. Let's just say it's okay to take this down. I mean, that's the point. We want a goal that's going to stretch you. Like, you want to go, think of it like you're reaching, and you're just reaching, and you're like just touching it. And you're like, I don't know if I'm 5'10". I still feel can't reach stuff sometimes, but you're just barely touch something with but you can touch it. That's what we want for a goal for you. What I don't want is something you're going to have to jump up and down over and over and over again, and then eventually get so tired and beat yourself up and just throw your goals out. We want something that's going to stretch you to the max, but you can actually touch it. Now, here's the thing. If you choose a big goal, like let's say you choose something you've never done before, that's okay. Go for it. And earn it. So if let's say let's say I've only done 4 deals, and now I want to do 30, and I've never done before, that's fine. Go for it. And what I would say is, because we do it with challenge, right? And we can really blow people away and do things we've never done before. What I would say is, take the first, this month and next month, and practice hitting this stuff. If you don't hit it, doesn't mean you got to take it down. Practice and learn. Don't beat yourself up. Collect data. Be a detective. What didn't work? How close did I get? Where did I get the most conversion? Just grab as much information and look for patterns as much as you can, and then adjust. So it doesn't have to be something that you can hit. But I would say, sometimes we have that where it's like, okay, set a goal and now double it. Okay, double it again. Okay, double it again, which is great for stretching our thinking. But sometimes it can make it feel really overwhelming, and then we feel like we're failing the first month. So we're really looking for that perfect balance where you're stretching as much as you can. And at the same time, you're not going to beat yourself up in a month and feel like a failure. If you start hitting what you're hitting, you can always change your goal, right? So if you're hitting this consistently, and you get a month, or let's say 3 months in, bump it up. That's the point, So if you know how many listings, even how many listings you've signed, you'll know what the gap is. So this is the economic model. And then here's what I'd say. If you're choosing this goal and you have a certain profit goal, in general, like your gross commission, plan on 40% of this being profit. That's going to be a pretty safe mark, unless you're a crazy spender, and you might want to get that in check. But on average, plan on 40% of this. So you're just going to take 520,000 times 0.4, right, in your calculator, 0.4, that's going to be whatever your profit is, and plan on that as your profit. So if you're setting a goal for that, that's how you can figure that out. So if we're going back to the 20, right, and we take 260,000 times 40%. Now you might have a higher profit margin. I'm just giving you a safe one that I see with a lot of agents and what's in the model. So then that way, you'll have more money if you have a higher profit margin. And I'm sure you could send it to any of us. We'll take it off your hands if it's too much. We'll take it for you. Okay, so this person, 260,000 times 40%, their profit would be 104,000. That would be their take home. So if you're the kind of person that says, you know what, I just want to net 100,000. I hear that a lot. I just want to net 100,000. Then that would be something you could play with. If the math feels confusing, just do a 50% profit margin, right? Don't make it too complicated. I see a lot of people with 50% profit margin. So let's say you want to net 100,000 and the math makes you shut down. Well, don't do the math. Just plan on, okay, I need 200,000 in GCI if I want to take 100,000 home. It's, again, a lot of people have 50% profit margin. Some have 60%. So don't worry about that. Yeah, and somebody said in the comments, like, if you have a team, if you don't have a team, all those factors can affect it. So you can play with it, but in general, so we do, again, if you do decide to do the let's see, the business planning clinic, there's a way that actually will spit out exactly what your profit margin is going to be. You can estimate that, how much to spend on lead generation per month, annual salaries. Like, we have all this in here. It's also in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, but you can kind of customize this. So that's something, if you are taking the clinic, and you have a team, we can go more detailed into. Okay, so this is the economic model. I think arguably is probably one of the most important things to have if you're setting a goal, and you have it now. So let me know if you have questions on that. And then I want to talk to you about the resources here. So here you have like a second tab. So it's just at the bottom. These are different templates, and these are actually ones that we covered in some of our calls. I've been doing Tuesday calls for over a year now. So these are different tools that people really liked, and so I put these in here. So there's 105 different lead generation ideas in your. You have a 411 template. So I'm going to briefly overview what these are. So a 411 template. Essentially, you have your yearly goals right here, and you have little check boxes if you want. So you do like your annual goal, how many units, and then you're just going to break that down to what that means per month. So if we looked at, remember we said I've got to go on 2 listing appointments per month. So you would just do this, something like that. So you can kind of break it down monthly, and you'll see the different months below here. I made this because I like electronic ones. They're just easier than like finding out where your paper is, but you could print it out, and then you have it breaking down by the week. So if you want to plan out, what you're going to do for the week, and again, we have these check boxes here. You'll notice there's also the personal side. So the personal side might be vacations. It might be that you have a personal goal to go do something fun, read a book, hang out with friends, twice a month, or take a class or something like that. So we also want to develop as people, because I'll tell you, I've also coached people who have been in real estate and get to 65, 70 years old, and they have expressed like they literally don't know who they are because they've just been business. They don't have another part of them that's not just real estate. And so in their honor, I want to mention that, and that's something we worked on with them, is have a life and a persona outside of real estate. Real estate is not everything. There's so much more to life besides real estate. It's a wonderful, beautiful career, and it's really fun, right? I've been in it for almost 15 years. And especially when the market might feel tough or we're going through changes, if you have another place to retreat to where you're winning, it's really helpful. You got to win somewhere else. If you feel like you're not winning right now, you're going to come back and infuse energy into this real estate world. You're going to have more confidence, and it's going to give you longevity. So there's that one. Then we have our GPS, our 135. This is also in the business planning clinic too. We went on a call and I gave it to you. So if you're thinking about, well, how do I hit this goal, right? How do I achieve this? You'll put the unit goal right here, right? So that would be 20 closings. And then what a 135 is our GPS. You're going to have your one goal and you're going to have your 3 priorities to hit that goal. So if you only did these 3 things, that's it. You're 100% going to hit this goal. And then we have the 5. So if you only did these 5 things, then you're 100% going to hit this priority. Okay. And what I would suggest in this is that these are your 3 lead sources. I'm going to tell you how to do this a little bit differently than a lot of times we've been taught if you've ever taken a class on this. The reason for that is this is what the top teams are doing. They are putting their 3 main lead sources. 75% of sales of the top 100 in the world from KW came from 3 sources. 75% or more of their sales, 1,000, 2,000 units, came from 3 sources. So don't have 10 different things. I got to do physical experiment. I got to do cold calling. I got to do door knocking. I got to do open houses. Find 3 things. One of them needs to be your sphere and database. Okay. And find the other 2 and get awesome at it. Like forget everything else, get really specialized, right? Think about if somebody like this, so you're going to say, okay, I'm going to do 20 closings and I'm going to do 10 from sphere and database. Okay. And then I have 10 left to allocate. So I'm going to do 5 closings from open houses, let's say, and then 5 closings from social media. I mean, you can choose anything. So now these are your 5 strategies. So if you only did 5 things and that's it to get 10 closings from your sphere and database, what are those 5 things? If you only did 5 things to open, 5 open houses, because think that if you became the best at open houses, right, or whatever the lead source is, just an example, and you studied it and you went to all the open houses of all the other realtors in the city and figure out which ones were better or not, and you looked at it and you tried different times of the week and you tried different ways of doing it, and you did open houses on a Saturday and on a Sunday, and you looked up every script and you watched YouTube videos and you looked up every training. Do you think you're going to kick butt at open houses? You're going to be the best in town. You're going to figure out the model. Find an agent who's doing the most open houses closings in the whole country and study them. The issue that a lot of agents have who are not doing a lot of sales is they are trying to do way too many things kind of good instead of committing to something and becoming a master of it. Yeah, I mean, that's right. We had over 300 closings. I don't recommend this. I didn't do anything besides FSBO expired. That's it. I didn't care. I didn't want to touch it. I had other people doing my sphere and database, and I just went ridiculously hyper-focused into FSBO expired. I told all the FSBO expired the scripts they were going to get from other agents. I would bring them flowers and chocolates. I'd care about them. I'd check on them. I had a whole system around it. And the first year I did it, I got over 8 million in volume just from FSBO expired, just from that. Because I loved it, right? And I liked that there was a thick barrier to entry. And so if I broke through that barrier, nobody could touch me. Yeah, I mean, and we had a lower price point. We didn't have 500,000. It was like 200,000. So it was like 8 million in volume first year just by specializing. And I see that over and over and over again by so many people. So, for example, on the strategy, right? This might be, call quarterly, check in. It could be, 2 client events annually. Like it's what are those 5 things? If you only did 5 things, that's it. You can only do 5 things. What would guarantee you get 10? So this is really, really valuable. And again, we'll go more in depth in the business planning clinic if you decide to do that. We also have this tracker. So this gamifies if you want to do contacts. So what this is so if you look down here, there's 100 boxes. You don't have to call 100 people. This is just 100 boxes. So when I don't know about you, but if you are calling and like you don't get anybody, it can get a little disheartening sometimes. If you're just dialing, and it's just like, yeah, you're not getting what you need to get, and there's not really a reward. It can feel hard. However, this was designed where you get credit. So if you dial, you're gonna do strike through it. So it's a little baby dopamine hit. If you speak with somebody, you're gonna circle the number. If you get an appointment, you're gonna do a triangle over it. So you print this out every week, and this is Mondays, and then this is Tuesday. So you can kind of gamify it, and you get rewarded little rewards even for dials, even if it doesn't pick up. And then what you can do at the end of the week is you can total up how many dials you had for Monday. How many people did you talk to? How many appointments did you get? How many hours did you spend? And what was the source of the list? Because the other thing that you may want to do is figure out what is the low-hanging fruit, what is the least amount of activities to the most amount of return. So over time, as you collect this data, you're going to learn, oh wow, I only have to talk to 5 people door knocking, whereas I've got to talk to 30 people when I'm doing circle prospecting. I'm going to door knock because I can do it in half the amount of time. So this is where we look at working smarter instead of harder. So this is a way you can manually do it. And yeah, this is manual. There's all kinds of things. If you're doing this in a CRM or anything like that, it's going to do it for you. This is just old school, it's kind of nice to just write it down. You can also total them at the end of each week, and you can save these, and then you can actually get your conversion rates if you want to use this. You could also literally just focus on the appointments if you don't want to do this. It just depends. So that's what this tracker is. You just print this out each week. And you go for it. And then this is the priority brain dump sheet we've gone over. There's a call. This is in the recordings and notes from all the calls I've done. But this one, if you, a lot of people have joined at different times because not everybody knew about what we were doing. But if you ever get overwhelmed, right, there's so many tasks in your head, you don't know what to do, when to do it first, you get paralyzed, you're going to do a brain dump of everything in your head on the sheet. Just blah. Type it all out, all the tasks, personal, business. And then what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to choose a priority level. So is it something that has to be done today? Could it be done tomorrow? Like, what is the absolute deadline? And then you're going to type in the number. Well, let me show you. So let's say I have, pickup signs, callback seller, and just random stuff, lead gen for 30 minutes. Answer attorney, so it's just like, just throw it all on there. And then let's say I got a lead gen, pickup signs. I have to do it today or they're going to throw them out, so you're just going to type in a number and it's going to actually color coordinate. Call back the seller. Definitely want to do that today. Lead gen for 30 minutes. I did 30 minutes as well. This should probably be a red, but answer the attorney, I can do that this week. It just says be by the end of the week, so you can kind of go and it can help you organize. I mean, you might have personal stuff, right? Clean out garage. My wife is like really stressed right now because I didn't clean out the garage, or I said I was going to do it, or I need to go grocery shop, because sometimes with ADHD, it can feel like everything is due now when really it's not. We have trouble prioritizing and doing a timeline. So it's really important to get it all on paper. So grocery shopping, it's fine. I just need to do it next week. Clean out the garage. Wife said, it's not as urgent as I thought, someday. Okay. So as you just throw everything on this list, when you get something completed, when you pick up the signs, write done, it's going to turn green. Okay. So as you do things, and then what you'll do, and there's instructions over here, there's a little triangle right here, and you just click this and you say sort sheet A to Z, and now it's going to take all the done towards the bottom. So you have a success list all the way over here. And now it's got everything in order. So when you come to this, you're just going to go to what's on top. Okay, this is what I do. I don't do anything else before I do this. Now that's done. Okay. And now I'm going to go to the next thing. Okay, now I'm going to answer the attorney. So it helps prioritize instead of us just getting overwhelmed. And you can put the due date in there. You can put the link to, whatever it is. If you need to, figure out a website, call some, whatever, if there's a link. And then first step, if you still feel stuck, right, we can see all the steps at once instead of like the first step. So think, answer the attorney. What is the first step? I need to find the attorney's number, which is in the email. So I'm going to say find email with attorney's number. So now instead of this big thing in our head of, I got to call the attorney back, it's like breaking it down because we can get paralyzed with all the steps. Or grocery shopping. The first step is, I just need to run by the grocery store on the way back from the office. So I'm going to do that Tuesday, on way home. So we start to break things down where it doesn't feel as overwhelming. Lead gen for 30 minutes. I need to just literally grab the list and call. So it just makes it easier. So this is the template here. And same thing, you're just gonna when you see these templates, you're just gonna file, make a copy, and do the same thing that we did. So yep. And then if you want to, This is great. These are my favorite ADHD resources. This one's for kids. These are like some of the best organizations. And then I threw this in there. This is the Business Plan Clinic and the ADHD agents membership. So it's for all brokerages. This is brokerage agnostic, and it's $97 a month for now. And if you join now, you're a founding member before the end of the year. $7 a month goes to charities. And then we will have, there's a lot of stuff coming. So that's why it's a founding member, but we have all kinds of clinics, trainings, everything. We have a private Facebook group. Everything's live streamed in there. We've got operation manual that we're working on for ADHD agents. Already got some in there already. You have direct access to me. So if you have questions, you can let me know. Like I want you to have the coach experience for $97 a month instead of $1,500 a month, because that bothered me. I couldn't help people unless they were doing a bunch of sales, and that just didn't feel right. So there's that. And it's ADHDagents.com. And then here's what the schedule looks like if you want to do the full clinic. If you just want what we have today and that works for you, like there's no pressure, right? This is just if you want more. So we're going to go into tracking sheets, some accountability. We're going to really firm up the goal. Then we're going to get your database marketing plan. There's going to be examples. We've got social media plan, sphere plan, templates, all that kind of stuff like that. Then we're going to the financials. We've got a budget calculator. I showed you a little bit of that. And then we're going to have an accountability plan and a private mastermind. And then after it's done, whoever takes a clinic, you're going to submit your business plan, and I'm going to sit with it from anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes. Each person, I'm going to give you feedback and suggestions. So what's happened in the past when people took this, and this is why I'm doing it as like a membership, as ongoing, is I actually looked at everybody's 3 months, 6 months out, and people dropped off and or had questions. And so why it's designed as like a membership with a separate Facebook group is, and we'll have other stuff too, is we're going to have an accountability component. So you have this great plan, and then you get feedback, and then you're going to have somebody looking at it all the time. And you're going to have other people that are going to help hold you accountable to make it happen, versus having this great plan and having it drop off. And then we're also going to have different specialists come in and teach courses with ADHD, and you have a class pass. So we'll have somebody come in on social media if you want to fine tune what you're doing there. We'll have like big names. I've got some big names coming, and we're doing the ADHD version of that course. And it's all included. It's all free. So you'll get a whole template with this. So this is if you want, we will, if you can't do this round, or you just not able to, I may do a mini clinic like in the beginning of December. So that's an option. If you just can't do this round, you need to have another closing, something like that. I'll probably do a mini clinic. I want to make this accessible. But what this does is allows me to like coach everyone and have, so that's why it's lower right now, because we don't have the website yet. And it's helping me figure out what our needs are, and then it'll go up. But again, if you join before January 1st, you're locked in for life. So yeah, that's what the business plan clinic is. But this template is free. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff in there. You could run your business just on this. So I'm going to summarize just really quickly. Like, keep it simple. You don't have to track 100 million things. It's okay to guess what your numbers are. You can always adjust that later, and make sure that your brain aligns with your plan. Do not make a plan or set a goal because you think that's what you're supposed to do. That's what someone else wants you to do. I'll tell you, like 99% of the time, it's not gonna matter. But if you set a goal because it matters to you, and it's what you want to do, and it's the techniques you want to do, and it's the niche, that really works. The other thing I would say is it's okay to be very creative. I've seen people, there are thousands of ways to get leads. There are people that they get all their leads because they're stream video game playing. Like that's how they get their leads. There are people that only get their leads from volunteering, and they create a database of, and we'll have examples of this in the clinic. But their whole database is based on people that volunteer. And so the calls that they make are not salesy at all. And it's like, hey, who do you know in the community that needs help? And they send out a calendar every month of what the volunteer opportunities are, And then they call and say, hey, which nonprofit do you care about? We're going to do a fundraiser. Like those are the calls. So if you have trouble calling or texting because it feels salesy, think outside the box, right? With ADHD, we've probably been taught a lot not to do that, especially in school. And now you get to do the opposite. So feel free to look outside the box, be super creative, do it your own way. As long as you hit your numbers, it doesn't matter. You know? So have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you all for the support during Hurricane Helene and the messages and things like that. I'm still getting back to some of those because we just got internet and cell back, but things are getting better here. And care about all of you, and we'll talk to you next week. So have a good one, everybody. Thank you.